For 3 years after our marriage, Julian and I were the perfect power couple in the eyes of outsiders. At the product launch event, he stood on stage as the newly appointed heir, making a point to add, "I'd like to thank my wife, my strongest support system." Everyone said he was deeply in love with me. Only I knew that he still carried a torch for the one who got away. Sure enough, the next second, Julian caught sight of Serena standing in the crowd. She was the one who got away. He chased after her, utterly heedless. Just then, fireworks erupted. My husband and another woman embraced tightly, in full view of everyone. The entire room gasped. Grace only has her family name, she's just a pawn in a marriage of alliance between influential families. So, the rumors about Mr. Hayes and the one who got away are true after all. My expression remained impassive. That's right. Julian didn't like me. In his eyes, I was merely a tool to solidify his position. But then again, wasn't he the same for me? Marriages of alliance between influential families were always solely for profit. If he hadn't borne a slight resemblance to the man I truly loved, why would I have chosen him as my partner in this alliance? Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. 2 days had passed since the product launch event ended. Julian hadn't returned home in those 2 days. Nor had I deliberately paid attention to where he'd gone. But there were always gossip mongers who couldn't resist reminding me. Mr. Hayes helped Serena move, and he even cooked for her himself. Sure enough, the one who got away can never be replaced. The only woman in Julian's heart is Serena. They even went back to the family estate for a visit these past 2 days. TSK, Julian has never taken Grace back there. They even thoughtfully attached photos. I looked at the group chat messages, my expression blank. Almost everyone in this group was one of Julian's close friends. If I didn't even care about Julian, why would I care about them? I confined myself to the art studio, sketching the features of the young man from my memories. As the final stroke fell, the art studio door was pushed open. Julian walked in. He glanced around indifferently, a smirk playing on his lips. "Grace, you're truly stubborn, aren't you? Pretending not to care, yet secretly sketching me here." Julian gazed at the painting with a knowing look, clucking his tongue a few times, his eyes full of mockery. I frowned. I wasn't drawing him. He reached out to touch it. With quick reflexes, I swatted his hand away. "Don't touch it, the paint isn't dry yet." He wasn't genuinely angry at being brushed off. In fact, the amusement in his eyes deepened. "You're really playing hard to get, aren't you? You've already drawn it, so why are you afraid of someone seeing it? Grace, is it so hard to admit you're madly in love with me? Otherwise, you wouldn't have shamelessly insisted on marrying me back then, even." At this, he gripped my throat, even going as far as to drive Serena out of the country just to be with me. I met his gaze, pushing my neck forward slightly. His eyes lingered on my slender neck, and his Adam's apple subtly bobbed. Yet he insisted on pretending he didn't care at all. Julian suddenly pushed me away with force, then tugged at his collar. "Your painting skills are terrible. You've drawn me without any spirit, far too young." I slumped to the floor, staring blankly at the portrait on the easel. It was indeed too young. It was Asher at 18, his features still holding the innocence and youthful exuberance unique to that age. My throat was dry, and I was about to retort. Then I saw Julian's gaze fall upon the scattered sketches next to the easel. They were all fragmented lines of a profile. Every stroke meticulously captured Asher's unique profile. Julian's steps faltered, and the curve of his lips was almost impossible to press. He reached for one of the sketch papers, his voice tinged with a hint of cheerfulness. "Instead of wasting your time on this, you should think about what to give Grandpa for his birthday gala in a few days. Don't embarrass me again." I looked up at him, catching the unconcealed smile in his eyes. Realizing I'd caught him, his expression immediately changed, and he threw the sketch paper at my face. The sharp edge of the paper cut a tiny mark on my cheek. Julian's tone hardened further. "Now get up and clean this mess. The art studio is like a pigsty, only I could put up with you." With that, he turned and left. I finally pushed myself up to stand. Sunlight streamed through the art studio window, casting a golden glow on the face of the person in the painting. A tear fell from my eye, and I whispered, "I miss you so much, Asher." My true love was pushed into the deep sea by enemies, trying to save me. A few minutes later, the art studio door was pushed open again. It was Serena. This was the first time Serena and I had faced each other directly. Before this, I had only seen her once from a distance. Everyone outside claimed I had driven her away. But I hadn't actually done anything. I had explained it to Julian many times, but he had never believed me. Initially, I hadn't known Julian had a secret girlfriend. Julian had hidden her well, fearing his family elders would cause trouble for Serena. Until the day of our grand wedding, when Serena appeared at the ceremony. She cast a distant glance at us, then resolutely turned and left. It was then that I realized my arranged partner already had someone he loved. But it was too late. Serena was toying with a ring on her finger. I recognized it instantly. It was a couple's ring, similar to Julian's. Yes. Even though Julian and I had been married for 3 years, the ring on his hand wasn't our wedding ring. Instead, it was a couple's ring he shared with Serena. To avoid gossip, I had no choice but to buy and wear a matching women's ring. Serena naturally saw the ring on my ring finger and laughed with immense sarcasm. A woman who ends up like you truly is a failure. I frowned. I didn't actually hold any ill will towards Serena. In fact, I even felt a bit guilty. I tried to keep my tone as friendly as possible. Miss, you don't need to see me as a rival. I'm not interested in Julian, and he and I will part ways sooner or later. Serena's face showed a surprised expression, which quickly shifted to one of pitiful vulnerability. Mrs. Hayes, if you say things like that, won't outsiders think Julian and I are actually involved? You're slandering me. She choked back a sob, as if she had suffered some immense grievance. I instinctively tried to explain, that's not what I meant. Yes, you are. Are you going to call me the other woman again? Are you going to use your status as the official wife to force me out of the country? Serena demanded, her voice trembling. Just as I was about to explain, hurried footsteps suddenly echoed from the art studio doorway. It was Julian. He had returned and happened to overhear Serena's tearful accusation. He rushed forward, shielding Serena behind him, his gaze at me venomous. Grace, how dare you bully Serena? Julian roared at me. Then, his eyes fell once more on Serena's reddened eyes, filled with pity and heartache. Serena, don't be afraid, I'll take you away from here right now. Serena nodded, leaning against Julian's chest. Her peripheral vision, however, flickered provocatively toward me, her lips moving slightly. I understood. She mouthed, serves you right. I rolled my eyes at them. What a pair of drama queens. I said, wearily, I didn't bully Serena. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance footage. Julian, of course, didn't believe me. He had never believed me. He glared at me. What? You expect me to believe you over Serena? Are you still trying to stir up trouble between Serena and me? Just then, Serena suddenly staggered backward, her wrist flicking. The palette on the table clattered, smashing all its contents onto the easel. The colorful paints utterly ruined the painting. My mind went blank for a moment. I had poured my heart and soul into that painting, spending years to capture Asher's likeness. And just like that, it was destroyed. Serena gasped, covering her mouth in surprise. I'm so sorry, I accidentally knocked over the palette. See, can you forgive me? Julian instinctively frowned, looking at me. Seeing my eyes red, his tone softened. Serena didn't mean it. Just paint a new one. I can even be your model, you won't have to keep secretly observing me. Shut up. I wasn't drawing you at all. I screamed. Before could say anything, Serena mumbled softly. Still denying it? Everyone knows you've always secretly loved Julian, otherwise, you wouldn't have gone to such lengths to break us up back then. For some reason, Julian didn't get angry when he heard this. Instead, he showed me a bit more patience. It's just a painting, isn't it? I'll find the best artist to assist you, and you can redraw it based on my appearance. I promise it'll be a better likeness than this one. Get out. I pointed to the door. Julian's face darkened, and he gritted his teeth, saying, Don't worry, Grace, I'm not an unreasonable person. Since I married you, I'll take responsibility for you. Serena and I are completely innocent. I wearily closed my eyes. I don't care what you two do. However, my indifferent attitude seemed to enrage Julian. He strode past Serena, rushing toward me, and seized my wrist with one hand. His grip was strong, causing me significant pain. I gritted my teeth. Let go. Grace, what are you trying to pull? A jealous woman pretending to be virtuous and generous, aren't you ashamed? With that, Julian forcefully threw me away. I fell heavily backward. My head hit the corner of the table, and blood seeped from my temple. I glared at Julian, instinctively picking up tea. He stole from the floor, about to throw it at him. Serena, however, suddenly stumbled and fell, blocking the stool's path. Watch out. With a thud, the stool struck Serena's back. Julian's eyes widened in fury. Serena! I froze. Serena let out a muffled groan, slowly crouching down while holding onto the table. Julian rushed over, scooped her up into his arms, then turned to look at me, his eyes blazing with fury. Grace, you've really outdone yourself. His voice was hoarse with intense anger. Serena leaned against his chest, her breath barely a whisper. Julian, don't blame her. She's just jealous, I'll be fine. Serena's act only made Julian's heartache for her grow, and his resentment toward me deepened. As he carried Serena away, he threw a parting shot. If you dare pull any more stunts at Grandpa's birthday gala, I'll make you regret it. The art studio door slammed shut. That night, Julian still didn't come home. I ate dinner and then went to sleep. As I drifted in and out of sleep, I felt the mattress behind me sink. I sat up with a start. The bedroom light wasn't on. By the moonlight filtering through the curtains, I could just barely make out Julian's eyes. He stared intently at me. Grace, are you trying to end this marriage of alliance between influential families? My breath caught. The moonlight cast shadows on Julian's sharply defined profile. I couldn't discern his true emotions, only that his eyes churned with a complexity I couldn't understand. Yes, we should have ended it long ago, shouldn't we? I replied truthfully. If it weren't for my family's business, I would have filed for divorce ages ago. A shadow fell between Julian and me, like a distinct dividing line. I continued, you should understand that the collaboration between the Yi and Hayes families is already quite stable now. Even without our power couple act, it wouldn't matter. Julian seemed stung by my words. He suddenly gripped my chin, pulling me closer. You want to end things now? Don't even think about it. Grace, when you broke Serena and me apart, did you ever think this day would come? I won't let you go. I'll torment you for the rest of your life. His grip was incredibly strong, hurting me intensely. The smell of alcohol on his breath washed over me. I turned my head to try and avoid him, but he pulled it back even more forcefully. Those eyes, which I had countless times mistaken for Asher's, now churned with overwhelming malice and stubbornness. He roared at me, I won't agree to a divorce. You'll forever be the young mistress of the Hayes family, and you'll never escape me. With that, he flung me aside and abruptly got out of bed, walking away. I watched his retreating figure, feeling only exhaustion. Think what you like, I said, but I will personally tell Grandpa I want a divorce. Julian's back stiffened, and his steps faltered slightly. For several days afterward, Julian still didn't come home. Almost every day, I saw scandals about him and Serena online. The internet was rife with speculation that Julian had cast me aside and was about to abandon me. On the day of the birthday gala, when I arrived, Julian had just gotten out of his car. Serena followed closely, linking her arm through his. The scene was undeniably dramatic. I, his wife, was conspicuously ignored. Many guests cast speculative glances our way, eager for a show. My gaze remained utterly unruffled as I walked past them and straight into the ballroom. Seeing my indifference, Julian, surprisingly, became irritated. Still so good at pretending. Anyone would think you genuinely didn't care. I stared at him, speechless. Serena lightly tugged at Julian's arm. Julian, let's go inside. Only then did Julian scoff, taking Serena's hand and entering. I followed behind them. At the birthday gala, many guests mistakenly believed Serena was Julian's wife. Julian offered no explanation. Serena, on the other hand, occasionally glanced at me, showing off. I paid no mind. The family didn't care for Serena. Grandpa's face soured a few shades when he saw Serena. But with so many guests present, Grandpa ultimately said nothing. Serena, however, naively believed this meant the Hayes family was starting to accept her. Grandpa, I'm Julian's friend. I wish you good health and all the best. Grandpa's expression remained cool. Serena looked at Julian, a hint of grievance in her eyes. Julian immediately chimed in, Grandpa, Serena specifically cancelled work to come celebrate your birthday. As he spoke, he subtly glanced at me, warning me not to speak out of turn. I quirked my lips, saying nothing. When we took our seats, Julian was placed beside me. Serena, meanwhile, could only sit in the regular guest section, looking forlorn. As soon as we sat down, Julian said in a voice only he and I could hear, play along. I understand. Play up the loving couple act, right? I took a small sip of wine. Julian pinched the back of my hand under the table, making my fingertips tremble with pain. Grace, stop being sarcastic. He lowered his voice, threatening, if you displease me today, that project the Yi family has been negotiating recently might just fall through. My expression darkened, and I merely snorted, saying nothing. Midway through the banquet, I found an excuse to step out for some air. Avoiding the noise, I walked alone toward the back garden. I was just idly sitting on a swing when I heard the click-clack of high heels behind me. followed by Serena's cloyingly sweet voice. Miss, what a coincidence. I turned my head and saw her holding a glass of champagne, her eyes cast down, her attitude sincere. I was wrong before. I just couldn't accept it, but these past few days, I've realized that neither of us is truly at fault. This drink is for you, consider it my apology. She drained the glass. Many guests nearby looked over curiously. Fearing further trouble, I forced myself to say, supper. Essaying my disgust, Miss, it's good that you've come to terms with it. With that, I got up and left. As I passed Serena, I caught a strange scent. But I didn't think much of it. It's normal for modern women to wear perfume. Little did I know, as I walked down an empty hallway, my vision blurred and black spots danced before my eyes. Serena suddenly appeared, steadying my swaying body. In my distorted vision, she was smiling with exaggerated glee. Let me take you to rest. I tried to push her away, but I couldn't muster any strength. My whole body felt boneless. In the last fading moments of my consciousness, I saw her pull out her phone and speak in a sweet, affected voice to someone on the other end. Mr. David, I brought the person for you. Please come quickly. When I regained some consciousness, I was lying on a king-size bed covered in rose petals. A fire seemed to burn within my body, consuming my rationality. I struggled to open my eyes and saw a corpulent man sitting on the edge of the bed, his greasy gaze roving over me. You're even prettier in person than in the photos. Miss certainly didn't lie to me. I desperately tried to push him away, but my body felt like it was filled with lead. I barely had the strength to lift my arm. Seeing me struggle only excited the man further. One hand stroked my face, while the other began to pull at my gown hem. Don't waste time. Just follow me, and I'll ensure you live a life of luxury. I'm Grace. I wanted him to back off. But the man only laughed more heartily, his alcohol-laden breath hot on my neck. You think I'd believe that? Miss said you're just a scum trying to worm your way into Julian's bed, and told me to teach you a good lesson. I felt as if I'd plunged into an ice pit, almost suffocating. Serena hated me this much? I struggled desperately, wanting to scream for help. But the man clamped his hand over my mouth. I emitted desperate, hoarse whimpers, but outside was the boisterous birthday gala. And no one heard me. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a small knife on the nightstand. Without hesitation, I grabbed the small knife and stabbed it fiercely into the man's neck. At that very moment, the door was kicked open with a resounding crash. A tall, familiar figure appeared, silhouetted against the light. My throat was dry, and I managed to choke out a few words. I'm dreaming of you again. The man on top of me scrambled up in a panic, not forgetting to curse, damn it, who's interrupting my good time? The next second, he was yanked backward with force, slamming into the doorframe. With a thud, the fat man collapsed to the floor like a rag doll, groaning uncontrollably. Asher didn't spare a glance for the wailing man on the floor. He strode to my side, stripped off his jacket, and wrapped it tightly around me. With a trembling hand, he gripped my hand, still clutching the knife, pulled it away, and tossed it aside. His voice was deeper than before, yet it carried a familiar tenderness. Grace, don't be scared. I'm here. I gazed at the features of the man before me. He was very much like the young man from my memories, yet not quite the same. 18-year-old Asher was like a perpetually shining sun, full of youthful vigor and drive. The man before me, however, had a scar near his eyebrow, clear facial contours, and an aura that was steady yet sharp. The only thing that hadn't changed was the look in his eyes when he saw me, still gentle and filled with boundless love. My tears suddenly streamed down. The silhouette I had sketched countless times over the years was now truly before me. My voice even trembled. Asher, is that really you, Asher? Asher wrapped one arm around my weakened body, holding me tightly in his embrace. I could feel his body trembling. Meanwhile, the reckless fat man was still shouting. Who are you? Just who the hell are you? No sooner had the fat man finished speaking than several bodyguards in uniform from OU side the door kicked him. Shut up. You know who I am, right? I'm from the Wong, smack. A slap cut the fat man off mid-sentence. The lead bodyguard looked down at him. Then do you know who you touched today? Miss is the woman our boss has been searching for years. Our boss is the founder of Global Group, half of Asia's entertainment industry and tech investments are in his hands. The fat on the man's face instantly stiffened. I looked at Asher in surprise. Wasn't he a poor boy? Asher was an orphan specially admitted to the elite school due to his outstanding academic performance. That's how I had the chance to meet him. Later, I was kidnapped by my family's business rivals. Asher was the first to find me. Our escape was discovered. Right before my eyes, Asher was pushed off a cliff and plunged into the deep sea. That scene, I could never forget it, even after so many years. Every time I remembered it, I was overcome with unbearable pain. All the fat man's arrogance vanished, his lips trembled. Mr. Asher. Mr. Asher? The rising business prodigy Asher, who never appears in public. Asher paid no attention to his alarm and fear, gently wiping away my tears with his thumb. He lightly patted my shoulder, not even raising his head, simply stating, "The group, right? Very good." The fat man nearly wet himself in fright. He knelt on the ground, flustered and helpless, ignoring his pain as he scrambled to grab Asher's coat sleeve. But the bodyguard next to him held him down firmly. I buried myself in Asher's chest, the tension that had gripped me for years finally releasing. So he really was alive. The commotion finally drew other guests from the ballroom. The fat man, having wet himself, kept kowtowing on the floor. Serena's brows furrowed tightly as she saw the scene in the room. But that didn't stop her from proceeding with her plan. She squeezed out a few tears and rushed out from the crowd. "Mrs. Hayes, how could you do such a thing? Ho! Could you betray Julian?" A considerable number of guests had already gathered here. Upon hearing this, the crowd erupted in a clamor. "Oh, so it's Mrs. Hayes. Grace is having an affair with some random man right here at Grandpa's birthday gala. Seriously, how could the Yee family raise a daughter like this?" Asher sharply turned his head, his cold, piercing gaze sweeping over everyone present. Everyone was intimidated and fell silent immediately. Even unconsciously took a step back. I wanted to explain. But the rising heat within me made me hazy and disoriented. The whole world began to spin, and I could only repeat, "Don't come closer, don't come closer." Julian rushed over at that moment. He immediately saw me in Asher's arms, his eyes widening in fury. "Grace, how dare you do this?" Julian, like a madman, charged forward to pull me away. But before his hand could even touch me, he was restrained by several bodyguards Asher had brought. Their grip was strong, making Julian wince in pain. Julian was about to roar again but suddenly stopped. He had recognized Asher's face. A face that bore an 80% resemblance to his own. Julian's mind froze for a moment. He looked at me in disbelief. Serena suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Julian's hand. "Julian, Grace has done something like this. You absolutely cannot let her off easily. Look how tightly they're holding each other. Who knows, maybe they often do this when you're not around." Serena let the implication hang in the air. Everyone understood her meaning. Suddenly, their gazes at me were filled with disgust and mockery. Julian's face twisted. "Grace, because you couldn't have me, you ended up with a stand-in who looks like me? Are you really that low?" I heard Julian's insults, regained a moment of clarity, and my chest heaved with anger. Asher gently patted my hand, signaling me not to worry. He scooped me up in his arms and got off the bed. Julian watched us, intimate and inseparable, his face growing even uglier, his eyes practically overflowing with jealousy and hatred. "Kid, do you know whose woman you're holding?" Asher didn't answer his question. Instead, he took a pill from a bodyguard and gave it to me. As the medicine took effect, the burning desire within me finally began to subside. Only then did I regain some of my rationality. I looked at Julian, my tone frigid. "Asher isn't a stand-in. You are." Julian, of course, didn't believe me. He was convinced I was deeply in love with him. Just then, a guest suddenly spoke up. "I remember now. He's Asher. I saw him at a charity gala once." Instantly, everyone's eyes widened, looking over. The speaker was a highly reputable figure in the business world. His words carried a lot of weight. Serena glared at me with envy. Julian stared at us, dumbfounded, his lips parting slightly. Asher's gaze abruptly turned cold and sharp as he glanced at Julian. "How could the Yee family be so blind as to marry their daughter to an idiot like you? What do you mean? Even if you are Asher, you can't just steal my wife." Julian gritted his teeth. "Can't you really see what Grace has been through?" Asher tightened his embrace slightly, his sharp, eagle-like gaze piercing Serena. Serena's pupils trembled slightly, and she instinctively averted her eyes. Meanwhile, the fat man lying on the floor, barely conscious, kept muttering, "I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it." Asher's words struck Julian like a thunderbolt, freezing him in place. Julian's gaze swept over the unnatural flush on my face, my unfocused eyes, and the prominent scratches on my neck, as well as the fat man's incoherent mumbling on the floor. Julian's face slowly shifted from flushed to ashen, as if he'd just realized something. Serena completely panicked. She reached out to grab Julian's hand, but he shook her off. "You did this?" Julian's voice trembled uncontrollably. Even he, foolish as he was, could now see the situation clearly. My condition clearly indicated I had been drugged. Combined with Serena's frantic, evasive gaze, the truth was now abundantly clear. I didn't do it. Serena cried, tears streaming down her face. Serena still tried to play the victim. The reason she had been so brazen was that she believed Julian still deeply loved her. Even if things were exposed, Julian would protect her. But's current reaction clearly exceeded her expectations. Unexpectedly, at that moment, the fat man who had been terrified out of his wits suddenly regained his composure. He pointed at Serena, screaming at the top of his lungs, "Scum! You ruined me! You ruined me! Why did you send Grace to my bed? You've killed me!" With that, the fat man sprang up, charged towards Serena, and clutched her throat tightly with both hands. The entire room was thrown into an uproar. The guests who had previously cursed me for being immoral now changed their expressions. The fat man was practically trying to kill her, choking Serena until her eyes rolled back. Yet no one stepped forward to stop him. Even didn't move, merely staring at her intensely. Just as Serena was on the verge of suffocating, the fat man was knocked unconscious from behind, by Asher's bodyguard. Serena was immediately released, collapsing to the floor and gasping for air. She never imagined Julian would just stand by and watch. "Julian, why would you?" Serena's throat was raw with pain, her voice hoarse. Julian suddenly chuckled softly, his eyes brimming with murderous intent. "Serena, how dare you touch my wife? How could you? But don't you love me?" Serena's face was ashen as she screamed at the top of her lungs. But all she got was a kick from Julian. She was sent flying several meters by Julian's kick. "You're just a low-class piece of trash. How dare you pull such vicious tricks in front of me?" Julian's face was glacial. "Drag her out. I'll make sure she learns her lesson." Serena's eyes widened in terror, and she shrieked, "No. You can't do this to me. Don't you love me? Don't." She crawled over, grabbing Julian's pant leg. "Are you really going to hurt me for that scum who broke us apart? Broke us apart? Serena, did you really think I was an idiot? Did you think I didn't know you went abroad after taking money from my grandpa?" Julian looked down at her imperiously. At this revelation, not only Serena but even I was astonished. By then, the Hayes family's bodyguards had stepped forward, dragging Serena away down the hallway. The remaining guests had already been persuaded to leave by the Hayes family. Soon, only a few people remained in the room. The atmosphere was extremely oppressive. I huddled in Asher's arms, covered in a cold sweat, my eyes unfocused. Julian looked at me, his heart churning with regret and a lingering pain. He wanted to approach, but he was blocked by Asher's bodyguards. Although the Hayes family had more bodyguards, Julian, however, ultimately didn't dare to confront Asher directly, and could only sheepishly retreat to the side. Asher raised a hand, pulling his jacket tighter around me, and whispered soothingly, "It's okay now. It's over." I nodded, tears falling. This reliance and intimacy, witnessed by Julian, struck him so hard he could barely breathe. The air was dead silent. Asher carried me out. As we passed Julian, I spoke hoarsely, "Let's get a divorce." Julian's body swayed, and he looked at me frantically. "No, I won't. We're not getting a divorce. Julian, I wasn't drawing you." I said those words again. In the past, when Julian heard this, he'd just thought I was being stubborn. But this time, his face turned stark white, and he stumbled backward, hitting the doorframe. Asher quickened his pace. Behind us, I could still hear Julian's suppressed sobs. Asher carried me out the back door of the Hayes estate. Several cars were already parked at the back door. After getting into the car, I finally couldn't help but ask, "Asher, how did you survive?" "I was rescued, but I lost my memory due to a head injury." Asher leaned down and kissed my forehead, his eyes filled with heartache and the wild joy of rediscovery. "For years, I'd been searching for someone, but I couldn't see her face clearly, until I saw you at the birthday gala just now, and the face in my dreams finally became clear." I froze, tears streaming uncontrollably. The person I had longed for day and night had also been searching for me. The scenery outside the car window slowly receded. I leaned into Asher's embrace, slowly closed my eyes, and fell asleep. What happened at the birthday gala did not spread. Everyone who witnessed it was coerced or bribed to varying degrees, and no one dared to speak a word. As for Serena, I heard something happened to her. She was given a very powerful aphrodisiac and spent a night of passion with Mr. David, that fat man. Mr. David was a very brutal man in bed, having caused the deaths of many female companions. When was rescued, she was already delirious, and her body was covered in injuries. Mr. David, meanwhile, was sentenced to 15 years of jail time, and the Wang family went bankrupt because of it. I saw Julian a month later. By then, his cheeks were sunken, and he exuded a sense of desolation. He was still holding the portrait stained with paint. What surprised me most was the ring on his ring finger. After 3 years of marriage, he had finally put on our wedding ring. He pointed at the painting, laughing and crying simultaneously. So, the person you painted wasn't me at all? You never loved me? I nodded. Julian suddenly crouched down, resting his forehead against the edge of the frame, his shoulders slumping completely. I thought we loved each other. I looked at him, bewildered. Loved each other? Julian sank into deep thought. He looked up at me, a smile turning into tears. Grace, the truth is, I liked you the first time I saw you. It's just that Serena was by my side back then, and I didn't dare admit I was someone who could easily fall for another. I was afraid of being called heartless, and even more afraid you'd look down on me. I paused, that faint surprise like a leaf dropped into a lake, creating only a slight ripple. Sunlight fell on Julian's messy hair, making him look somewhat pitiful. Julian gazed intently at me, as if trying to imprint my image in his mind. I still remember the first time I saw you. His voice was hoarse. Even today, Julian remembered everything that happened back then with perfect clarity. It was a business reception. He had just argued with Serena that day. Serena was upset because he didn't want to make their relationship public. Distraught, he'd slipped away, only to stumble upon a scene, a girl in a red dress, kneeling on the ground, gently stroking a small cat lying on its back. The girl's voice was very soft. Whiskers, you're the cutest Whiskers. The sunlight fell on the girl, casting a soft, warm glow on her fair skin. In that moment, he suddenly forgot Serena, forgot the superficial pleasantries at the reception. Even the irritation in his heart seemed to melt away, as if submerged in warm water. Julian at that time didn't yet know that this was what true heart-fluttering felt like. There was no dramatic opening like in movies, but rather like a pebble cast into a calm lake, sending ripples spreading out in circles. It made him, who prided himself on conquering the dating scene, stop in his tracks. I was stunned as I listened to him finish. You're truly insane. I had no patience for his reminiscing. I handed the signed divorce papers to Julian. Sign them. Let's part ways amicably. Julian and I didn't have any deep-seated animosity. We had simply used each other. I was even glad that he hadn't treated me well after our marriage. It meant I didn't have to feel guilty. After all, using someone as a substitute is never right. Julian's gaze fell on the words, divorce papers, his face growing paler and paler, yet he didn't take them. He looked at me, his voice pleading, can't you forgive me, give me one more chance? I promise I'll treat you well from now on, I won't be so difficult anymore. I gently shook my head. As for Julian's declarations of love, I was actually half believing, half doubting. If you truly love someone, would you bear to hurt them? I suddenly frowned and said seriously, you say you love me, but you never bothered to understand me. You didn't even notice that the mole on the boy in my painting is under his left eye, while yours is on your brow bone. Julian's body swayed slightly, as if all strength had suddenly drained from him. He stared at me, then suddenly smiled. Fine, I'll give you your freedom. With that, he picked up the pen and signed his name on the divorce papers. After finished signing, it was a long time before he pushed the papers over. As he pushed them, his thumb repeatedly rubbed the edge of the paper, as if trying to hold on to the last vestige of connection to me. Grace, Julian's voice was hoarse. If I had been braver then and declared my feelings, and not let Serena stand in the way, would you have? I didn't answer. In this world, there are no ifs. I took the papers, turned, and left. As I walked out of the cafe, I glanced back. Julian stood there, motionless. The sunlight was streaming imperfectly through the floor-to-ceiling windows, falling upon him. Yet it seemed unable to warm the cold silence around him. I shook my head and hurried towards Asher, who was waiting by the roadside. He opened his arms and embraced me, his gaze as tender as crushed starlight. Let's go home. Okay. I nodded, linking my arm through his as we got into the car. The car drove away smoothly. In the rearview mirror, I saw Julian still standing there. His figure grew smaller and smaller, eventually becoming a blurry dot. Half a month later, the divorce statement from the Yi and Su families was publicly announced. It didn't cause much of a stir online. Asher had already handled everything. He had minimized the impact of the birthday gala scandal, saving face for both the Yi and Su families. Another spring arrived. Asher and I held a grand wedding. Surrounded by esteemed guests, he held my hand, his eyes filled with love. Distant waves crashed against the shore, as if cheering for our happiness. Witnessed by everyone, we embraced tightly, promising to cherish each other for life. This time, we welcomed our own happy ending. As for Julian, I heard he completely took over the Hayes family's business. But he finally settled down, with no scandals reported. Some even said he fell in love with painting. He even opened a small art studio in his office. As for Serena, she completely disappeared from the city, no one knew where she went. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.